By the way, one more thing before we get to our first guest, justice for whales.
We're going to try and have a policy where no windmills are being built. It's crazy. They're dangerous. You see what's happening up in the Massachusetts area with the whales. The windmills are driving the whales crazy, obviously.
And let's bring in Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, it is just a reminder that the Republic has been saved despite this huge stack on President Trump's to-do list of all the things and problems that need to be tackled by the incoming president and his administration, that the tyranny of the administrative state is at its end, and also the burdensome overreach of a bunch of unelected bureaucrats. Can he get it all done?
In short answer, Dagan, yes. And by the way, happy birthday to you.
Thank you,
but
sir.
yeah, we can get it done. And here's why. Because the American people know that the way Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the technocrats in the Democrat Party have been running this government has been atrocious. They've run it into the ground. So we have a mandate. I've been in meetings today with the leadership and other members. We're getting down to business right now to be able to deliver President Trump's agenda to his desk so we can get this country back on track. So all the things that you guys have talked about, of course we can address it, and we are going to address it.
Do you have a strong thought one way or the other, Congressman, on the one big, beautiful bill versus potentially two bills on reconciliation? What's the smartest path forward here to get as much of the agenda through as quickly as possible, in your view?
I told a bunch of my colleagues today I'm agnostic at this point on one big, beautiful bill or two big, beautiful bills or whatever the case might be. It's all going to be beautiful because it's an agenda that's going to make America great again. That's what we're going to deliver. I think people are getting caught up in what style of car you're talking about, whether it's a Corvette or it's an SUV. And what I'm trying to help my colleagues understand is that what matters much more are the bells and whistles inside the car. Are we going to have heated seats? Are we going to have AC seats for the people in Florida? That's important. What the details of the agenda are critical, not whether it's one bill or two. And as long as we arrive at those details quickly, we can deliver for President Trump and we can deliver for America.
Because today, President Trump was asked about the one big bill, which seems to be preferable in the Senate, versus the two. And President Trump seemed open to the two. He said two bills would certainly be quicker. You talk about the details, whether, you know, you're with the car reference, it's like, do you get a standard transmission with the old stick shift? How good is your air conditioning when it's 105 degrees outside? But in just the tax bill, in addition to extending the Trump tax cuts that expire at the end of this year, what else will be in there? Because I know that you have already introduced a bill to check the box on the no tax on tips specifically.
Yeah, I think that obviously you're going to have a reauthorization of the Trump tax cuts, which is the best tax policy our country's ever had. In addition, no tax on tips, I totally believe is going to be in there, as well as some of the other new facets on overtime, on Social Security. Those items could definitely be in that package. There's some critical stuff in reauthorization of the Trump tax cuts. There's a small business deduction, Section 199A, that has to get reauthorized. There's 100% expensing for business owners. That has to come back and be reauthorized. That was great stuff in tax policy, but it's even more than just tax policy. You're talking about the efficiencies from DOGE that are going to be in this package, the critical energy reforms that our nation needs drastically to be successful going forward, and many other things in many other spaces throughout our economy that will put our nation at the forefront of the world for another generation.
I know there's a mantra around unity. Republicans talk about it, and last week they actually lived it with Speaker Johnson, one round and done. Do you have a sense that there's a real appetite among all of your colleagues, basically? Because it's going to take all of you to get this done without getting bogged down in infighting, which could really kill the momentum.
Yeah, I totally believe that. Like I said earlier, I've been meeting with a lot of my colleagues today. I anticipate we'll probably have more meetings tomorrow and then even into Thursday. And yeah, I will tell you, whether you're somebody who's on the most conservative right flank of our party or somebody that we would say probably is more center-right, more in the middle of the road when it comes to our party, everybody's committed to doing the key things: securing our nation's border, reauthorizing tax policy, getting rid of the crazy regulatory mandates from Joe Biden and his crazy administration, and then doing everything possible to curtail spending and set this nation up for success fiscally. We are committed to that. I think every member's ready to do that work. Devil's going to be in the details. We have a ton of work to do around that, but we're going to put together everybody to get that done.
Congressman, before we move on to ask you about the TikTok ban that will be heard by the Supreme Court, you mentioned energy, and so much of energy policy people think about being driven out of the executive branch. What would Congress need to put, or the Republicans rather, need to put in a bill? Would it be something that enables the president to reopen this more than 600 million acres of offshore area outside the United States in the Pacific and Atlantic for drilling? What would it be? Just give me one example of what you're talking about.
Well, one example is the need for nuclear power.
Right.
We have a major issue with baseload power in the United States for AI, like the president talked about today, digital assets, which we do want to open up here in the United States, but you need more baseload power for that. Nuclear energy is the way to deliver that from a commercial perspective to address that need. You can't get it from solar panels. You can't get it from windmills. Nuclear is actually green. The technology is here. We can deploy that across our country in a very safe and efficient way. Congress has to speak to that. I think that's something that we can definitely get done.
Congressman, lastly, very quickly, the Supreme Court is going to have oral arguments this week on this TikTok ban bill, which you supported. Do you hope that the court upholds that legislation?
I do. Look, we do have some concerns about the Chinese government obviously being able to have backdoor access. That's one of the reasons that led to that bill passing out of both chambers of Congress. But we'll see what the Supreme Court lands on this. At the end of the day, our concerns is about protecting the information and the security of every American who could potentially be using that app.
Congressman Byron Donalds, great to see you, sir. Now get to work.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I will. Thanks.
Thank you, PD. Great.